All right, Tiffany, if you look at all these here, all right, every single one here is just an image I took of everything that was on the table that everybody had to look at. Okay, except for this Google Doc. Now, this Google Doc has the actual lab in it, but it has, if you'll notice, a couple pictures. So when I open it up, you'll see there's some pictures, but if you but if you ignore that, you'll see why. If you scroll down, what you'll see here is a description of a physical property and a description of a chemical property. All right, and a description of a physical change and a description of a chemical change. Okay, and below that is the actual lab. So here's the first part. This has to deal with the physical and chemical properties, which I'll explain. And part 2 has to do with the chemical and physical changes. And part 3, when you see it, you'll see has to do the lab write-up. All right. Now what you're going to have to do, here's the purpose of the lab. Now you're going to have to make your own hypothesis. And basically what you're going to do, here's the example. You're going to basically say something, how you word it's up to you. You just write, I think I'll be able to determine the physical and chemical properties and changes because, and then the answer is basically going to be based on this, all right, and based on the notes you had in class. All right, so real quick, just to remember what a chemical and physical change is so you know the difference. When something reacts, if after the reaction the thing has completely changed into a different substance altogether, okay, then that's a chemical change. Like when you burn a piece of paper, the piece of paper is no longer paper, but it's ash and smoke. All right, that's a chemical change. But when ice melts, it's now liquid water. It was solid water, now it's liquid water. That's a physical change because it's still the same substance, okay? So a chemical property is something like the color because that doesn't involve a change in the substance. That's a physical property, I mean. A chemical property is, does the substance have the ability to cause a change? All right, like is it flammable? Is it toxic? Is it corrosive? Stuff like that, okay? So that's what you have to do with the lab. Now, for the pictures themselves, all right, so for instance, this one, the first one right here, you have to determine for these 6 objects what the physical changes are, physical properties. So for the first one, this is part 1. Just this picture is part 1. So you have these 6 different objects. All right. Now, if you want to understand more about physical and chemical properties, then what you have to do is just go on Google or go on YouTube and type in something like examples of physical and chemical properties. Okay. And so so just write them down, what they are. All right. Now, for these other ones, everything else you have to determine if it's a chemical or physical change. All right. So, for instance, here's where the other thing is. So, when this guy eats a hamburger, it results in this. Now, is that a chemical change? Did the hamburger change into a different substance? The arrow represents the reaction. This is before the reaction, and here's after the reaction. All right, so is that a different substance? If it results in a different substance, then it's a chemical change. And you have to explain why it's a chemical change. You just can't say if it's a chemical or physical change. You have to explain why. All right. And one of the other, let me just pick this one. All right. So the arrow, remember, represents a reaction. So you have this, and it changed into this. Now, is it the same substance? Then it's a physical change. Is it a different substance? Then it's a chemical change. Okay. And that's what you have to do with every single picture. Find out if, remember, the arrow this is before the reaction, this is after the reaction. Okay? This is vinegar. So vinegar plus cucumber results in a pickle. Now there's other stuff, but generally if you put a cucumber in vinegar, it'll turn into a pickle. All right, so this is the reaction. Was that a chemical change or physical change? Now if you're not sure of some of these, look them up. All right, and so for every single one, so this is yeast, these are grapes, and this is supposed to be, plus fermentation and sugar. This is supposed to be, quote unquote wine. It's not wine, it's grape juice. All right, is that a chemical change or a physical change? And that's what you have to do with every single one. All right, now this is chocolate powder. This is chocolate milk. Let me go through these real quick. All right, this is nuts. These are just berries. This is a piece of bread. This is a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. All right, these are chocolate chips, flour, butter, and sugar. This is cookie dough. So this is like and this is the actual cookie. All right, don't eat it. All right, so this is two reactions. So in a sense, this is two problems. Okay, it's not just one problem. All right, let me see if there was something else. All right, oh, and here, this is just this half, in case you wanted to close up for whatever reason. And this is the second half, okay? So this is cookie dough, uncooked cookie dough. All right, so just go through the others. I think that was it. Oh, this one, this is supposed to be an egg, all right? And this is this is like a scrambled egg, or it was actually, all right, then put it on a frying pan, and it produces a, a cooked egg. All right, so remember, once again, if you're not sure what to do, just make sure you look it up, okay? If you have any more questions, ask me.